On November 15th, Gold Rush Gaming had an event at the main event. They had an event at the main event, yeah, in Hoffman Estates. They were giving away Jeeps, new Jeeps to some of the, I guess, the people that play their slot machines, the ones that won really big scores or whatever. Basically, it's whoever it was that played their slot machines. They got invited to an event where they could enter into the drawing for a new Jeep, and it was called Jeepers Creepers, and they held it after Halloween and before Thanksgiving. Gold Rush Gaming supplied the Jeeps. Russ Gemin and Judy Brownfield supplied the Creeps, of which I was one. I was invited to reprise my role as Dr. Danger, or as I've come to call him, the Mad Doctor of Chicago Street. And I was more than happy to do it. I'm always up for some mad doctoring. So on that day, Friday, I made my way up to Hoffman Estates, went to Russ's Heating and Air Conditioning Company, where we were all meeting at. A lot of familiar faces were there. Russ and Judy was there, of course, and Marissa was back. She got to dress up in one of those full body costumes. Her and another girl that was there, they played mummies. It was interesting. She said she was walking around most of the evening in this full body mummy costume, and she was so relieved to get the hood off because everything was like she could see through it and she could breathe, but it was like everything was just like in this white haze, she said. And then when she took the hood off, she was just like, oh wow, everything's all so colorful now. I got made up by this young lady. Her name is Angie, and she owns her own special effects business. It's called SFX by Angie. And she's got her own t-shirts and her own little chair and everything. She made me up. My drill hole right in the middle of my forehead, of course, and I was never sure if it was one of those little happy accidents or not, but she was filling in the red in my drill hole, and some of it dripped down the front of my nose, which was perfect. She would neither confirm nor deny it was a happy accident, but I was pretty happy with it. And some other folks were there, and they got made up. We had Frankenstein and his bride, and we had Count Dracula and his wife and their son. Lots of zombies, 2 mummies, Marissa and the other girl that was there in the cage at Nightmare on Chicago Street, and this other fellow, he had on one of those body costumes too, but people said he looked like a decaying zombified version of Shrek. Other people said he looked more like Slimer. He was a big hit. And so we got to go to the main event. It's basically, it's like Dave & Buster's. It's like this big indoor family game complex. They got a bowling alley, and they got laser tag, and they've got lots of video games. I came in there, I said, this is my idea of what video games are, not slot machines. These video games are a lot different than the ones I grew up with. You know, I grew up with the classics, Space Invaders, Asteroids, Pac-Man, all those guys. Actually, they did have Space Invaders and Pac-Man there, but they're just totally different from what I had. And the Space Invaders game, it was huge. It was like this huge screen, and you actually sat down and actually shot. You had a gun, and you actually shot at the invaders. There was no buttons or joysticks involved. There was, of course, the joysticks on Pac-Man was there, but it was like I said, it was like a much larger screen. It wasn't the little arcade cabinets. They had lots of racing games. They had this one game where you can race the Batmobile through the streets of Gotham, and they have the different versions of the Batmobile throughout the decades, and they had Adam West's Batmobile and the different Batmobiles that they used in the movies, and it looked pretty neat. Well, they also had this thing where you had to walk. It was over the top of the video game area. You had to wear a harness, and you could walk across these rope bridges, and I guess you had to do it within a certain time. Well, they didn't have a zip line. You had to walk hand over hand. They had like little ropes that you could hold on to, and you never saw anybody do it. It was a bar, of course, and they had like a little dining area. We got to partake of the buffet that evening, which was good. Basically, it started out, we did our usual routine of going around picking out the customers, and I was there. I had my drill, and I did my usual routine of asking folks to help me get rid of my migraine. We only did it, I only asked like 3 ladies, one of which I found out was actually the wife of the fellow who owns the Gold Rush company and the organizer of the event. But she seemed to get a kick out of it. She laughed, you know, and she went along with it. But unfortunately, somebody complained that we were freaking out the attendees. Of course, you know, it wasn't like a haunted house scenario. This was like a family gaming complex. So we weren't really there to be scared, I guess. So basically all we had to do was just wander around, and we would pose for pictures and stuff. After it was all over, after they had all the drawings, we got to, it's not like the old arcade days where you could go in and pop quarters in. You had to get a gaming card, and you could reload it however much you wanted to put on it. And we had they gave us all game cards, and they were good for about 4 hours of gaming. I played a few games. I played the Pac-Man game, and they have these shooter games. There was one where you had to shoot these redneck zombies and make sure you know the difference between the zombies and the humans. The one character in the game explained it. The difference between a zombie and a redneck is the zombie has teeth. So I had to go around and shoot the zombies and make sure I didn't shoot the cute girl in the Daisy Duke outfit, which I didn't. And then they had also an Alien game. I mean, Alien the movie. But it was like you were one of the space marines, and you landed on this planet that the aliens had infested, and you got to go in there and clear them out, shoot them. It was different. I got a kick out of seeing my fellow denizens of Chicago Street, I guess, whatever you want to call them. They're there playing the video games, the driving games, and the shooting games. I even got to see, they had this on the floor. It was one of those things where you step on it, and it does different things. They had one it was a xylophone. You stepped on the xylophone, and it made the music, and I got a kick out of seeing Dracula's wife and son hopping around on it, seeing this very well-to-do looking, dressed to the nines vampire, the red dress and a wrap and gloves, and her son was there in a little red suit, and they were hopping around on the xylophone making music. We did have a good time. I had a good time. We had never really done anything like this before, and once we understood what was going on, we did okay. I did okay. There was one little guy there with his family, and he saw me, and he was kind of looking at me, and I looked back at him, and he waved, and I waved, and I did go over to him and ask him if he could do me a favor, and he kind of looked at me, nodded his head, and I told him I had a headache, and could he hold my drill right here and just squeeze the little trigger, and he did. He did good. We all did good. And yes, I actually managed to save my drill hole this time. Yes, I actually drove all the way home from Hoffman Estates back home to Morris in costume with my makeup still on. I didn't do anything silly. I kept looking straight ahead as at the stoplight. I didn't look over to see who was in the car next to me. I didn't do anything stupid. I didn't get pulled over. I thought I was going to do something. I kept thinking, what happens if I get pulled over and I'm going to have to explain myself? But thankfully that never happened. And I got home. It was very late. I had to be at work in the morning. I got home and very carefully peeled off my drill hole, and I was able to keep it intact this time. as opposed to my previous drill hole, or what's left of it. Major difference. There's the main event, the fun card as they call it. One of these was the one they gave to me. Somebody else, they didn't want theirs, so they gave me theirs. I used one of these. I didn't touch the other one. So they've both got they've still got a lot of game time left on them, but I don't think I'll be making a special trip up to Hoffman Estates just to use them. I mean, it's a nice place. I liked it. I'm not going to be making a special trip up there just to use the rest of them, so I just decided to save them. And I forgot to mention, I actually got paid, which was nice. The evening went very well. I had a good time. It's always good working with Russ and Judy and Marissa the Mummy. It was good seeing her again. Russ said he does not want to lose me. It's good to know that I do a good job, and that I am appreciated for my work. It's always good to know, and it's always fun. I always have a good time when I dress up and freak people out. In a good way. At least I'd like to think it's in a good way. It was fun. It really was. I had a blast, and I think everybody else did too. Might as well show you this while I've got it here. Shameless plug. This is darkcandles.com. They do spooky themed candles, and every year they bring out their special holiday scents for like Christmas. Their newest line of holiday scents is based off of A Christmas Carol, and they come in, there's 4 of them. They have 4 different candles. This one, of course, this is Scrooge. They have the 3 ghosts, and they come in a little black box with the holiday wrapping paper, and they got a nice little candle holder there. So if you've ever wondered what Scrooge smells like, go ahead and head on over to darkcandles.com and order their Christmas Carol box set. Do it before January 5th, because that's when they stop offering it until next year. They do good.